sad and alone.
Ah, there we go.
There you are.
There we go. For no reason at all, my internet cut off perfectly as I ended the first part. I'm not even sure what you heard, like me say at the end.
No, you asked me if there's anything else I was working on, and I gave a very long answer to that.
Yeah, I heard all of that.
Probably you didn't.
I actually heard all of that. So, with the power of editing, we are now gonna jump right into the second video, because I did manage to end the first one. So, here, normally I call this segment Necrit and Chill, because we normally just talk about anything. But I realized that we can do something better. We can actually, we can review the lore of League of Legends, and we can talk about what we do like and what we don't like about the world and stuff like that. So, do you have a good starting point, something that you like about the world of League of Legends?
Oh, something I like. Oh, there's so much to like, honestly. I like the thing that I've always liked most about the League of Legends world is that they try to be so broad. Like, we got the steampunk, chempunk thing in Piltover, and then you got like Egyptian quasi-mystical like god kings in Shurima, and then you have Targon with all the gods hanging out there, and then you have Hell Dimension from another planet full of aliens, the Void.
There is variety for everyone.
Yeah, it's the variety. Like, it's so broad, and there's so much inspiration from so many sources. That's always been my favorite thing, is that it's not just, oh, here's European fantasy with some Europe guys that swords and knights and stuff, but also pirates and elves and like little freaking furries hanging out over in Ionia, and all that stuff. The variety
that
is good.
reminds me. That actually reminds me of something interesting. Did you realize that? Was it in the book now, or where was it? It was confirmed somewhere that humans on Runeterra came from like the Great East, like somewhere we don't even know. It just says from East, and I assume it's gonna be like outside of Valoran and like all we know now. So that made me realize, you know how like with Asian cultures you usually have connected like Asian-looking people, and then in Shurima you have like darker skin and stuff like that. I realized that if all humans came from one place, somewhere where we don't even know, how come we still have these, like, normal-looking races on Runeterra? I don't know, it's just a stupid detail, but I just realized that all the humans came from the same place, and yet, perfectly, there are kind of like different human races. I don't know.
It's weird that in terms of like the world building, that the racial development would be exactly the same as on human Earth.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like we all came from Africa, obviously, like some millions of years back, and that's where every human race developed from. So I guess they're kind of going for the same thing. Which is like, that's the coding, like where Demacia and Noxus are really coded very heavily after like Europe and European styles, and Freljord is coded after Scandinavia, and Shurima is coded after Egypt and stuff like that. So I guess they just kind of wanted to mirror the way that happened in the real world, but it is a weird thing.
It could be just so we have something to relate to, because especially with Ionia, it is obvious that Ionia is pretty much a copy of like your typical Asian cultures, which you would normally find in fantasy. Yeah,
it's very much a mashup of like China and Japan and Korea and there's like Vietnam and Southeast Asia. They go very hard on that, and also India a little bit, especially with like Karma and her character design.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, India seems to be influencing Ionia a bit, but Ishtal more than that. Especially like when you look at the new Nidalee, the new concept art for her new short story, like that new character design they kind of teased for her. That seems to be very based on like Desi people from the Indian subcontinent and areas around Pakistan and stuff like that. At least as far as I could tell.
I didn't even realize that. That's actually a cool detail. Huh. Now, I wanted to say, like, what I like about the world, I wanted to say the exact same thing, actually. That I really like the variety, but I am not sure if I'm a fan of the fact that it feels like they are avoiding your typical, like, stereotypes in fantasy worlds a little bit too much. I know that you are probably gonna talk about this a bit more than me, or you are more qualified to do that. That, no matter what fantasy trope you look at, like have a like a pyromancer or have like our typical archer, they do everything in their power to make sure that those guys are not in League. Like when it comes to their characters, like you never have your typical pyromancer. You have like a little child that has a bear that is on fire, and then you have like a burned spirit, you know, which is Brand. So to me, it feels like sometimes it would be nice to have like your normal kind of knight with a sword and shield in the middle of all this mess.
Yeah, I agree, actually, because, like, League of Legends, it really does try hard, very hard. Like, they have the archetypes. Like, we have Elise, who's the Black Widow spider lady. That's pretty archetypal. But they really try hard not to do the obvious ones. Like, we have, like, the closest thing we have to a sword and shield knight is, like, Garen. And he's still, like, got that anime thing going on with the giant Final Fantasy sword and stuff like that. And I think you're right. I think it would be nice to just have something that's a little bit closer to Earth, especially after, like, Aphelios.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Magic teleporting weapon man. Like...
with, like, Halo guns from space.
Yeah, Halo gun from... You're
gravity
so
gun
right
with a
about
black
that.
hole.
The fucking gravity gun and shit like that. Like, he just warped in from a Halo game. You're right.
By the way, he's putting down turrets. He's he's making the guns fly on their own and
Heimerdinger would like to know your location.
Oh my god. Now, with that said, while I really do like the diversity of all the champions, and as I said, I would like to have like every now and then a little normal person here and there. I wonder if some of the side characters that they set up for some of the stories, I wonder if they have any plans for them to potentially maybe turn them into champions, because there are a couple of characters that are pretty much qualified for this. There is one of my old favorites was in Miss Fortune's story. There is, and I'm now trying to remember, Rafen. That's the guy. There's like a really cool pirate. He has a really awesome, funny character connected with him. So I was hoping maybe they would turn him into a champion. And then, and this is probably a better, maybe a better version of a character that could be turned into a champion, is Cytherea of Cloudfield. I feel like, especially with Legends of Runeterra, they are leaning very heavily on her character, and there is so much about her now that I truly wonder if they have any future plans with her. I don't know. Do you have any characters, or do you have any side characters in League right now that you maybe like more than even some champions?
Oh, the battle chefs, the Demacian battle chefs.
Oh,
I think
cool.
if League of Legends is gonna have like a multi-character champion, I want the battle chefs. They're so cool. They're the best card in Legends of Runeterra is the fighting chefs, like just punching out Noxian soldiers. That they're fantastic. Like, there's some great character designs. I really love especially the ghost character designs on the Shadow Isles cards.
Oh,
like
they're so creepy.
The drinking ghosts that kind of just pour alcohol into their own heads and stuff. Very good character design.
I love the butcher, the big one.
Yeah, Ledros could be a good champion.
Oh my god, you're right. I totally forgot about him. Ledros is actually in a good space, and Ledros has a sword and shield.
Yeah, he would be a good sword and shield knight. Like that, you could do something interesting with a ghost sword and shield dude who can like die and survive. Like, there's something to be said for a revival mechanic, like outside of like Karthus just being able to cast his ult. Like a revival mechanic where you genuinely have like a ghost champion who has something where he can't die, but maybe he can't do enough damage to... I don't know like a game designer, but like there's cool thematic ideas there. Because League of Legends is already a game about dying and coming back over and over again, so...
Oh, you're right. I just realized that I believe in... oh my god, what was it called? Heroes of the Storm. I believe they did play a little bit more outside the box with this. Like, there are some characters that you can split in 3.
Yeah, the Lost Vikings.
Yes, and if you die with one of them, you only give like a fraction of like XP to the enemy and gold and stuff like that. So you're right that actually League never plays with the idea of making dying actually an interesting mechanic in the world or in the game.
Yeah, the closest they've come really is like they do stuff with like Kog'Maw where you explode, and then there's Karthus where you cast your ult and then you die. But yeah, they haven't really done a lot with that kind of thing. I do think there is something with Ledros, because like his whole thing in his short story is that he keeps trying to save Callista and he dies over and over again while trying to save Callista. Like, that cycle over and over again. And I feel like there's a gameplay loop in there somewhere. Like, there must be something you can do with that kind of champion concept.
Now, with this, we can actually transition into another thing I wanted to talk about, which is... when it comes to champions that are used in the game, I feel like Riot is always limiting themselves to always having all the champions that are in League, always having them alive in the world as well. So right now, if you look at the world of League of Legends, I feel like there is 150 champions. All of them are slightly, you know, snowflakey. Like they are, every one of them is special.
Yeah, they're all the chosen one.
Yes, and yet all of them are scattered across the world. So I had the idea, I would love it if maybe Riot brought a champion into the game that would be from the past. Like, there is nothing that would be stopping them from releasing something like, what's his name? Boram Darkwill. Why can't he be a champion, right? I feel like maybe they are a little bit oversaturating their world with all the champions, and instead it would be cool to bring some champions from the past maybe into the game. Or, and this is actually a question I would like to ask you, do you think Riot should kill off some champions?
Yes. God damn it, yes. For the love of God. Like, because you're so right about that. Like, there is this huge problem where every new champion is like the coolest guy in the world and the most important like, they all have these massive, they have to, like, Swain has this thing where, like, he's seen the future with a dark secret that's coming and it's gonna destroy the world and blah, blah. And then there's the Freljord where it's like, oh, Lissandra has seen the future of the dark thing that's coming that's gonna destroy the world. And then we go to Shurima and down, like, with the Void, and then it's Kaisa, who has seen the dark future of the Void. That's gonna, like, it would. I think you're really right about that. That it would be fine to go, okay, League of Legends, the game, is you get all of the champions that have ever existed across history, but then, like, some of them are not alive at the same time. Like, some of them are maybe from 100 years ago, some of them are from 200 years in the future, and then you can kind of tell stories about the world without going, hey, hang on, if this big apocalypse thing is happening, why aren't all the champions showing up? Like, to fight...
I feel like they are just scared, though. They're just scared of, like, when you kill off a champion, and there are people who really like that champion, it feels like they are scared of people hating on them for removing a champion from a story, which they probably never read, and they probably don't even know. So I feel like I don't know. I think that Riot shouldn't be afraid of doing that, because you can give a champion really cool story by killing them off.
Yeah. Genuinely.
Because I even feel that, like, killing off a champion makes them twice as cool, probably, because you can have, like, a heroic moment when they do something before they die, and they can change a bit of the world. I don't know, I feel like this should be something they should look into. I wanted to say more, but they should just look into it at all, because they've never done it.
Yeah, because, like, the League of Legends, like, the Summoner's Rift and shit, that's already been declared non-canon, like, a million times. We already know that's not canon, that champions aren't actually just fighting each other over and over on a hilltop somewhere in Freljord or wherever. So that's fine. Like, you could... I think you're right. They could just go, okay, let's go a little bit more crazy. Like, so that... Because, like, it's always... For me, the big one is, like, Aurelion Sol. For me, he's like the big problem when it comes to that thing where, like, I'm perfectly happy to accept him as a champion in League of Legends, but as a character in the story of Runeterra, it's weird to have Space God, who made all the stars, like, hang out and be relevant to the conflicts of, like, human little people in, like, Shurima and Targon. They
would need to give Runeterra a lot more value in order for them to do that. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Runeterra would have to be like a super weapon against the Void. Maybe it is, actually. I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, that could be where they're going. Like, that could be how they plan to deal with the Void problem once that inevitably crops up.
Which also, like, brings me to the question of, like, why is the Void going specifically for Runeterra, right? Or if they are not, if they are going for, like, other planets, stuff like that, then you would think that Aurelion wouldn't be only, you know, invested in Runeterra. Then again, he's kind of enslaved by the Targonians, so there is that entire story going.
If I remember right, the thing about the Void is, like, that the Void is like this other dimension, and some holes started to open up into the Void from Runeterra because of, like, the Rune Wars or something like that. And they hate the fact that this dimension exists where something exists, but the Void is all about not existing. So it'd be like it's coming up against your polar opposite, which is why you want to destroy it.
I always try
like,
to explain it in a way where I just say that, you know, they were sleeping and then suddenly there is this light and that light is annoying them, so they just want to sleep. That's all they really want to do.
Yeah, Runeterra is like a really annoying alarm clock, but the neighbor's alarm clock, so you can't turn it off, but it's just beeping.
Now, although, like, I don't know, like, when you go into this, things get way too complicated because you start thinking, like, if this one singular light is only really Runeterra, is it just the planet that is annoying them, or is it that entire new dimension? Because from the story mentions that it is the dimension that's actually annoying them.
It's the alternate dimension that's annoying them, that they want to snuff out. But it just so happens that Runeterra is the place where they enter the universe, I think. It's something that it felt like they wanted to explore that a lot more with Aurelion Sol and the Targon storyline, but like so many League of Legends stories, like they set it up, and then it's just there for a long time, and they don't do anything with it because they're busy with other stuff.
Speaking of which, do you have a favorite story right now in the world that is like your favorite like continuation of a story? How would I describe this? You know, a story that is now moving forward. For me, okay, for example, for me, I am a massive fan of Silas. Like Silas, I didn't really like the character when they released him. He was like a annoying weird guy. But then when I got into the lore and I noticed like how far the lore went, it wasn't just like one story and then it's done. It's like now we are on like part 5 out of how many. So right now I am a massive fan of that entire Demacian story.
Yeah, it's definitely a good one. My favorite is gonna be Ashe and her ongoing storyline. Like, I really like her relationship with Sejuani. I really like that battle sister thing where Sejuani is like much more, no, war and blood and stuff. And Ashe is like, but war and blood sucks and it kills everyone. Like, that they have that complicated relationship where they are friends, but they also want to murder each other a lot. And with the Volibear coming in and all that shit, like that, and Udyr turning out to be Sejuani's mother, big plot twist.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
That stuff is probably my favorite, but I think you're right. Like, the Silas storyline right now is probably the most interesting one in League of Legends, because it is really this thing of, oh, no, wait, it turns out Demacia was, like, doing a genocide on the mages. Oopsie!
I just like how many layers that story has, because it's not only like, because there is that Lux part where Lux is trying to hide that he's a mage. Then you have like Garen on top of that, because Garen knows that she's a mage and he's hiding that. Together with that, you have the Mage Seekers, and I find the Mage Seekers as like one of the most interesting things in the world that they have. It's like it's not even a faction. It's more like a house in Demacia where you have people hunting down mages, but they are doing the evil thing, but even though they believe that they are doing the right thing. And I just love the Mage Seekers, like, and the detail that they have, like how you know that a Mage Seeker is a Mage Seeker because they have the mask, the half masks on their face, and they are using the, what do they call it, the stone disc,
Petricide things, yeah, the
Greymark.
Eagle, yeah.
Greymark, and they like the story even describes like a specific things that they carry, and I love all of these details. So I just feel like the Silas story has so many layers, and there are so many things involved. And together with that, there is a whole new other nation next to Demacia that is now being used in the story. So I don't know. That one probably for me, I think that Demacia right now has the most potential for them to just go wherever they want and actually deliver like a solid full story.
Yeah, I really hope they do, because like the worst thing about League of Legends lore always is that they start something and then they don't do anything with it for 2 years or 3 years, and then they retcon it. And
I feel like that they should be okay with starting a story and then wrapping it up. Like, if now something happened and like they imprisoned Silas and everything went back to normal, that would be fine to me, because then what they could do is that maybe after that they go into Bilgewater, they tell a story there, and then they can come back. They can make Morgana come back from the darkness. She can release Silas, and suddenly the story continues. So I feel like Riot should be less afraid of wrapping up stories.
Yeah, that's what I really like about the comics, is that the comics have had these like self-contained story arcs and storylines that kind of, they do tell like a finished especially like the Ashe story did tell like a finished story about how Ashe became the War Mother of the Eberosans and how her relationship with Sejuani was established and stuff like that. And I hope that they're doing the same thing with the Zed comics, and like Zed, Shen, and Jin, that we get a full story about those characters, because that's a fucking amazing storyline that they...
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was so mad that they didn't follow up on that one immediately, but the serial killer Jin and then Zed and Shen doing like a Ionian CSI thing, that's so cool.
And with that said, because we're gonna need to start wrapping things up, is there a thing that you would really like Riot to do for the world of League of Legends? Is there like a thing that you feel like is missing that would really help things?
I mean, if you'd asked me like a couple of months ago, my answer would have been an animated series, but we're getting that now. So the last thing that I really want is like actual novels. Like the same thing that Warhammer kind of does with like all the Warhammer 40k novels and stuff. Like, find a good author, license the League of Legends IP, say, hey, you can write a story about Jarvan III, like how he became king, like some kind of political intrigue, and hey, you over there, you can write a sci-fi story about some Piltover technology and that goes wrong, or novels that expand on the skin lines, like a novel about the Pulsefire, or like a manga about the Star Guardians. Like, there's all of this expanded universe stuff that Riot really should be looking into doing much more of. That they're just dipping their toes into it with the comics, and now they're finally doing an animated series. They really need to expand that. Because, like, there's reasons why you can't just do main universe stuff all the time, but all the skin universes, like, you can go there and do crazy shit, and it doesn't matter because it's not going to affect the main story.
But the issue with that is that they then have to pick like which universes they have to have a look at, because they will be definitely looking at numbers at like which skin lines are popular and which will make them more money and stuff like that. So that entire thing could be maybe almost too complicated for them to go in and handle.
That's probably why they're not doing it, yeah.
Yeah. But you actually got right on my point, because what I want the world of League of Legends to do is that I want the characters in the game progress just as the story does. So, for example, when you have a character, I'm gonna say something like Lux. What Riot could have done is that up until now, Lux in-game, what if she didn't have a staff? And as the story progressed forward, and when the comic was released, there she got a staff, and suddenly she would have a staff in-game. I feel like what Riot should do, and this would be probably the best way how to connect the game with the story, is that they should make sure that when something happens in the story, it reflects on the characters in the game as well. And I feel like Gangplank was the only time they did this, and it was amazing. Like, when Gangplank... when Misfortune blew up his ship and he lost his arm, suddenly he was remade in the game, and he looked different, and you felt like the story moved forward. But ever since that, it never happened again.
Yeah.
I feel like Riot should be doing more of that. In fact, every time they remake a champion, they shouldn't just rewrite their stories and make them different. They should make the rework of a champion into a continuation of their character.
Akali style.
Exactly. And I feel like they should be doing this more. Who's gonna be next, actually? Actually, they can't do it with Fiddlesticks, and Volibear, who knows what they're gonna do with that? That's total mystery. I'm trying to think like who they could do this with next.
Shyvana.
Shyvana would be good.
She's the one who's coming up after Volibear and Fiddlesticks, so...
Oh, is she actually confirmed to... Oh.
I believe so. Like, that's certainly what they've been implying, that she's the one who's gonna be next.
Or actually now with the mini rework on Diana, but they would have to do a visual rework, and that would be too much work.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like, what if Shyvana? What if she, when they remake her, what if they gave her Demacian armor, because now that she's under the wings of Jarvan, or we guess she is. She was never mentioned in the story since, but. What if they gave her Demacian armor because she's trying to stay hidden among the Demacian people, right? I don't know. They could just turn the champion reworks into the continuation of their story.
Yeah, that would be a really fucking cool way to do it. And I do think like they could do smaller stuff. Like if there's a story where, I don't know, Lux fights someone and they hit her in the face with a sword and she gets a scar, then you add a little scar to the in-game model. Like that kind of thing would be, that kind of stuff would be really, really good. Like you said with the staff, like, and the same thing like Miss Fortune, now that she is actually Captain Fortune of Bilgewater, like the pirate queen of the place. Make Captain Fortune the default skin.
Yes.
And then, like, move Miss Fortune to Bounty Hunter Miss Fortune or something, whatever.
Or just like the traditional, just like they did with gameplay.
Exactly. That would be very cool. That would be a really good way to connect things up a little bit more.
I almost feel like that's the only way to do it, because other than that, I have no idea how they could do that. Besides doing, like, PvE game modes, but knowing how many other games they are working on, I don't think that's possible.
It's probably not happening. No, no. They're probably. I think probably with all the announcements they've made, they're kind of going towards they want to expand the story with those other games, like especially that Blitzcrank brawler game.
Project F. That's the game that I'm looking forward to the most by far.
That's the one I'm interested in. Yeah.
They said that the only thing we know is that the philosophy behind that game is that they want you to explore the world. And that's all I need to know, because I don't even want them to have it like a Diablo-style game, where it's like a looter kind of game. I don't even want that. I would like it if they made like your classic single-player or co-op game where you go through a world like a Lego video game style. I don't know if you've ever played a Lego game.
Yeah, I have the Lego Star Wars ones.
Yes, exactly. Those are my favorite. I want that, but League, and I would be happy, man.
That would be very good. Like if you could, if you just levels where you travel around. Yeah, that would be really cool. I hope that's kind of the thing they're doing.
They could do so much there. You can have an adventure, because it is Ezreal, Blitzcrank, and Lux. The three of them can adventure into Shurima, and then they get into Shadow Isles, and then they are robbing a bank in Piltover. You know, you can explore the entire world there.
Definitely. I agree. Like, I really hope Project F does something good with that. Because that's the one that has potential.
Yeah.
The fighting game is probably not gonna... Like, there's probably not gonna be much story in that.
I have, like, the last fighting game I've ever played was, like, Soul Calibur 2, like, in 2000.
Oh, the good old days.
So, and
welcome
there,
to the stage of history.
Oh my god. and the story there was pretty much non-existent. So, and ever since that, I have never played a fighting game, so I don't know how good you can be at making a solid story with a fighting game.
It can be done. Like, there are ways to do it. Like the Dragon Ball Fighters said, it's a Dragon Ball story, so it's not amazing or anything, but they do have a pretty involved storyline. Like, where there's, like, you go through these cutscenes that set up why are these two characters fighting, what are they trying to do, blah, blah, whoever wins moves on to. So you can do it. I just don't think they're gonna. Like, I think with the fighting game, they're aiming much more for, like, an arcade experience.
Probably, actually, yeah. So, yeah, all my hopes are on Project F. Hopefully they are gonna do something with that. So, with that, we are probably just gonna do our final verdict on the lore of League of Legends. Can you sum up your thoughts on the world in like 3 sentences and then give it a score out of 10?
Yeah, I think there's so much potential, like absolutely enormous amounts of potential, most of which hasn't been fulfilled yet. And I think, like, for that reason, like, my score of the League of Legends lore would be a B, but there could be such a great A, like A++, S rank, whatever, if they just follow up a little bit more. Like, it won't take much to push it over.
Now, with me, I feel confident in saying that the world right now, and it is incredible because 2 years ago we had nothing.
Yeah.
But the world right now, the world of League of Legends, and I'm confident in saying that it is probably on par with like massive fantasy universes like your Warhammer, your Lord of the Rings, your other fantasy worlds. The world itself is in an incredibly good place. Like, you have so many places to go, you have so many things to do. It is just about executing the stories and now finally moving the stories forward, which is what they are doing now. So, on a scale out of 10, if 5 is your average and whatever it is below 5 is like below average and stuff like that, I would go with a solid 7. Because if 5 is average, 6 is good, 7 is like more than good. It's not amazing, it's not like mind-blowing, but it is pretty good. So, I feel like there again, just like you said, there is massive potential. There are so many things they could do with it. It's all about when they are gonna do it. It's more about time right now, rather than like having more setups and stuff like that. Well,
Yeah.
So with that, we're gonna end this segment as well. So, do you have any final words, even for this part of the video as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, remember to subscribe to YouTube channels and support small content creators and content creators who you love. Because, like, showing up for Twitch streams, leaving a comment, leaving a like, all of that stuff helps us a great deal more than I think you ever realize. So remember to support content creators, remember to like, comment, and subscribe to all of the things. And especially to Necrit's channel, because it's full of good stuff. And buy our merchandise as well. That's a good thing to do.
No, actually, especially to your channel, because I actually need better merchandise. I'm actually working on something else, so I need something better now. But I'm gonna say, actually, do you stream on YouTube? Don't you?
Yeah, every once in a while. Usually on Sundays, I'll have a stream. I haven't done it for a bit, but yeah.
So you guys know where to go and who to subscribe to, stuff like that. With that, because it is a Christmas season, I guess I'm gonna wish everyone Merry Christmas, because this is gonna be released. Actually, no, this is gonna be released in like 2 days. It's almost Christmas season.
It's December, it counts.
It counts. Pumpkin spice latte is gone, so it's Christmas officially now.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you another time in the future.
Yeah. Have a good one, everyone.
Have a good one. Hey, did you know that we have social media and Twitch where we talk about other League facts and stories? And did you know that we have need mugs and shirts too? The links to all of that will be below. And as always, thank you, come again.